Pick your mans up.
Just because people used to come through shooting at us every day. This block, words can't even explain. Can't even explain.
Hey man, who's school Melly O51 Young Money? Young Money, man, they in the building.
600 boy LA, man, LA Capone, man, get to him, man. OC2 boys, man. Team
number 9, man, number 9 shooter, you hear me?
Hey, bitch, this little bitch. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you, boy? Hey, I am Brick Squad. Brick Squad, boy. What the fuck is you talking about, boy?
You have to be willing to die or go to jail for 100 years if that's the lane that you're stepping in. You have to understand that whether you 15, 16, you got to think like a man. You know what I'm saying?
So don't be in it. Oh, you're not? Why does everybody say you're only 16 years old?
They say what they want to say.
How old are you?
300.
The story of O51 Melly, aka the GraveDigger. O51 Melly, or the GraveDigger as he later became known as, was born on November 19, 1991, on the south side of Chicago. Melly, whose real name was Yarmal Williams, grew up with his brother Wu and his sister Kenji, where Yarmal was the eldest of the siblings. Yarmal's big brother, Wu, is currently locked up for gun charges, but his parole date is set to be on the October 16, 2020. He will probably be out when this video has been released. Melly and Wu have the same mother, NGB, but have different fathers. Wu's father, Jerome Golden, is currently locked up for life for 4 murders and an armed robbery. Melly's dad was named Yamur Williams. Melly's stepdad, and Wu's father Jerome, who was also called Fido, was also the brother of G Slim from NLMB. So G Slim was their uncle, though not Yarmal's real uncle, but he was always there for all the siblings, which meant a lot to them, considering that Angie B, the siblings' mother, died of cancer when she was 40, and Fido, who was also like a father for Melly, got locked up in 1994, when Melly was only 3 years old, and Wu 6 months old. Melly grew up in the Randolph Towers, or the Met Buildings as it was also called, with his siblings, his mother and stepdad Jerome. The Randolph Towers on 6217 South Calumet Avenue was known as the Black Disciples headquarters, where his stepdad Fido was one of the big guys who ruled and set. After Jerome was locked up for the 4 murders and the armed robbery, the siblings moved with their mother to 59th and Calumet, which was 600's block. It was there he began to know and date Tay 600's sister Mina Red, that he was at home with several times, even when Tay 600 was there. When Melly started at DuSable High School, he met and became good friends with several Mickey Cobras who came from 50th to 51st from King to Cottage. For example, he became good friends with KTS Vaughn's cousin Ziku from O51 Young Money. After Ziku was killed in 2008 by Aki from THF 46, Melly started claiming Young Money. However, Melly, who was already a BD because of his stepfather, never switched to Mickey Cobra, even though most of O51's enemies were BDs. During his early teens, Melly moved around a lot on both the south and east sides of Chicago. For example, he lived for a long time with his grandmother Alicia and his real father Yammer Williams. Later in life, when he became the highest priority for his enemies, he lived in several different places with various close friends he trusted. He had to move smart. For example, he lived with his uncle Jeffrey Campbell, aka Kurt Mack, from Mabu, who was shot to death in 2017 by Rome from THF-46, and OTF Twin from Lamron. He also lived a lot with his close friend Mabu Crump, who was shot to death outside a party in 2018 by Lil T, who is a female, and Bezu from THF-46, and Lil Steve from Lamron. Melly was actually present when Crump was murdered, and was even grazed by a bullet to his head, which I told you about in the story of Get Back Gang. Melly had contacts and family all over Chicago. His family is full of heavy gang members. What many do not know is that Mabu Crump used to be close to both Bezu and Lil Durk back in 2012 and 2013, before Mabu and Lamron and THF-46 started beefing around 2014 and 2015. Crump and Bezu and other THF-46 members even used to slide together. This was when they were adults and not long before Bezu later smoked Crump. Because in most cases, members from the different sides around Chicago grew up together as young children, and went to the same school and were actually cool with each other, before they started beefing. This was no wonder. There are, for example, pictures of King Bun and Lil Mark in a group photo from Hyde Park. However, this was when both Crump and Bezu were adults. Crump was also in Lil Durk's music video for Dis Ain't What You Want, in 2013. There is also a rumor that both Bezu and Melly were sitting in the back seat of a car together when Crump was driving. However, I do not know if that is true. This is why Crump knew so much gossip from Lamron and THF-46. I'll talk about the fallout between Mabu and OTF in another video.
Fake shit going on. This ain't fake though. That motherfucker ain't fake, man.
That's how we ride.
That ain't fake, man. Get your goof ass out the car. You goof ass nigga. Get your goofy bitch ass out the car. You fucking goofy. You goofy bitch ass.
Like I said before, Melly was plugged into nearly the whole city. He had connections to small town GDs, who were close to his father, Yamur, who was also a GD. Melly often used to gamble and play cards in their territory. He was often arrested around that area, 67th to 68th East End Avenue, mostly for gambling. He was also cool with some No Limit members, because of Wu's uncle, G Slim, who was one of the founders of NLMB. He also had connections to 4CH. You can see pictures of him with, among others, Bump J and other famous 4CH members. He also had many cousins on the side of the enemy. Among others, he was a cousin of Lil Rob from Lamron, who he was later mocking. after he was shot to death by arrow from O51 Young Money. He was also a cousin of TYMB Courtney and TYMB Cortez, who killed Tuka from STL. O51 Young Money is one of the most well-known sets on the south side of Chicago. They are notorious for having an incredible number of killers, with multiple bodies. You have people like Kiddo, who is rumored to have 6 to 7 bodies, and Drillit with 3 to 4 bodies, Arrow and Montana with 2 to 3 bodies. There is a lot. The members of O51 are mainly Mickey Cobras, but it is also both GDs and BDs, which Melly was. Some older members were even Stones back in the days. O51's territory is larger than the average gang in Chicago controls. The average gang in Chicago generally controls less than 2 square miles. But unlike most gangs, YM controls over 3 square miles, and dominates their local area of Hyde Park to Kenwood and Eastern Grand Crossing. Their main territory extends from King Drive to Woodlawn Avenue on 53rd to 48th. The territory is shared by both O51 and Drex side. YM's history as a gang within the area stretching back to the Drex side MCs. Although Young Money has a long history, it took a long time for O51 to establish themselves. O51 started to be established as a set around 2006 to 2007. It was around that year that the beef with DHF 46 started. To simplify it, there are usually 5 different ways in Chicago for how a beef starts between 2 sets. The first is that it's about a girl and that it ends with someone killing a person. The other way is that it starts with fights between groups of friends as children at school. The third way is that it is about territory. A good example of this is when Black Mob and No Limit used to be cool. Vito from No Limit was trapping in their area without paying or showing respect. He got beat up for it. Hellrail from No Limit then told Vito to go shoot at Black Mob, which he did, however, without hitting anyone. Black Mob came back later, and Boo from Black Mob killed Vito instead. The fourth way is that it starts with one gang starting dissing the other for reasons. The fifth way is that someone gets killed through the back doorway due to personal reasons. The first war O51 entered, and which would later become one of the bloodiest and most famous in Chicago, is the war with DHF 46, also known as 46 Terror. THF stands for Trigger Happy Family. O51 shorties and THF shorties often fought with each other in school and outside school. After a while, guns began to get involved. It was only a matter of time before the first body was to be dropped. The first body to be dropped between THF and O51 Young Money was lost from O51. Franco and Boo Boo from THF 46 were the suspected killers, of which Franco actually was later convicted of the murder. Loss, whose real name was Carlos Mariels, was shot to death on March 13, 2008 at 4800 South Drexel Boulevard. Loss, 20, suffered wounds from multiple bullets. Carlos was taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 3:28 p.m. THF 46 is a large set located on 45th-46th, Drexel to Woodlawn. THF is one of Chicago's most dangerous sets. They have a lot of older guys that have multiple bodies, and have been in the streets for a long time. They got people like Rome who, for example, shot King Louie in the head, and killed both T-Berg and shot Mac from O51 Young Money. THF is very well organized, where Bezu is one of the top guys. Just as Lil Durk mentioned in the song, No Auto Durk, where he said, Law keeps wanting to get Zoo out of the way, they say he is a chief out here. THF also has a lot of strong allies. They are clicked up with sets like Lamron, O Block, 600 and THF 44, who are all enemies of O51 Young Money, even though a body has never actually dropped between O Block and O51. Just like Bezu said in the livestream with Melly, was that large parts of Chicago fear THF, because they actually terrorized all their enemies. They are actually up on all their enemies, O51, SKD, Touch Money, Mabu, 757, Met Boys, Suwu TTB, and even Mob, who never took revenge after Gucci and Tay-Tay from THF, killed a boy from Mob, which is the only body which has dropped between the sets. There is a video on YouTube of the murder, where you can see Gucci jumping out of Tay-Tay's car, and starting chasing a boy and one other guy. He shoot a boy in the back, who falls to the ground. He then stands over him, and shoot him a couple more times. You have to look up that video on your own. O51 Young Money has had various allies and enemies. When Melly, DB, Motor and Duck were alive, they were actually the links between O51, Taekwon World, Jaro City and STL/EBT. Especially Motor, Melly and Duck were close friends. They often played cards with each other. DB was very close to STL and Duck. He often used to hang on their blocks because it is so close. Before all four of them died, especially before Melly died, Jaro, Taekwon World, STL and O51 were very close to each other, even if they had their ups and downs with personal beefs between the gangs, especially between O51 and STL. They are also close to each other because they share the same enemies. One thing that may surprise many but which is not really strange, is that FBG Duck and Melly remained cool. Even though Melly killed his cousin THF Raheem, who Duck was relatively close to. He actually attended Raheem's funeral, where many of THF 46's main killers also attended. Nothing happened. Billy commented on the incident in a live stream where he said, "What could we do against him? He was around his family all the time." This was no wonder, even if Duck was mourning, he understood that Raheem was an enemy of O51. In addition, he knew that Raheem had shot Melly in the foot 2 weeks earlier. Melly started firing on O51's ops around 2010 to 2011. It was around the time when the war against THF really started to heat up. Melly actually jumped off the porch kind of late. He was actually a great student in school, but eventually he got sucked up in the streets. 2011 was the year when Montana from O51 killed Quint and Tony from THF within a couple of months, in revenge after THF killed Los and Zeko in 2008. And Dominic, who was killed by Bezu and Brubra in 2009, where Bezu later got locked up for the murder in 2014, but ended up beating it due to lack of evidence. Quint was thus the first body O51 dropped from THF 46. 2011 was also the year when the war with 600 really started, as the first body dropped between the gangs. On November 10, 2011, T Streets from O51 was sitting in a vehicle around 12:28 a.m. on LaSalle Street, between Garfield Boulevard and 57th Street. M. Thank from 600 walked up to the side window and shot D. Streets in the face. He was later found dead on the scene. About 3 months later, O51 equalized and got their revenge on 600. This was also when Melly would catch his first body. On February 2, 2012, Melly would begin his murder spree. 20-year-old Shaquille Rush, nicknamed Shaq, had been to a party on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue. When he was going home from the party, he first went to pee in an alley outside the party. O51, who for a long time had been lurking and sliding through 600's blocks to avenge D Streets, would now get their chance. Melly and Kiddo from O51 were out looking that night. They spotted Shaq and a girl. Melly and Kiddo ran up to Shaq and shot him multiple times in his body and head. Shaq was later found dead on the scene. The girl was also shot and was taken to the Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Luckily she was only grazed by the bullet and was able to leave the hospital quickly. Shaq's mother said in an interview that Shaq loved to rap and would often write lyrics and mix beats on his computer. This was not the first time the family had been hit by Chicago's gang violence. In 1998, Shaq's father, Luther Rush, was shot dead by Marcus Smalley of 7339S. Talman Avenue. Marcus was later convicted of the murder. Melly actually lived in 600's territory during this time, 5909 South Calumet to be exact, which is the heart of 600's territory. A few months later, Melly started constantly mocking Shaq on Twitter, where he said, among other things, that Shaq was laying next to that garbage can, smelling like one, to a member from 600. He basically admitted to the murder on Twitter. Melly actually lived in 600's territory while mocking Shaq, yet 600 could not touch him, even though he became the top priority for 600 after killing Shaq. Melly even wrote several times on Twitter that he lived there. He even wrote to Manny from 600 that he lived in their area, and that he went through their area daily, and went home without worries. Melly, who was BD, and who had heavy BD connections, therefore had protection when he lived in the area. But that did not stop 600 from trying to kill him, but they never managed to catch him lacking during that time. About 4 to 5 months after Shaq was killed, both DHF and 600 would score on O51 again. On March 28, 2012, Lil Chief was caught lacking by Bobo from THF in an alley in the 5000 block of South St. Lawrence Avenue in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Bobo shot him in the chest several times with a .45 caliber gun. Almost exactly 1 month later, it was 600's turn to score on O51 Young Money, which would later become one of Chicago's more famous hits. Antonio Davis, aka Fathead, of the 8000 block of South Eberhard Avenue, was visiting an aunt's home at 70th and Union, when he and his 22-year-old cousin Erica decided to walk to the store. They did not think anything of the light-colored van that slowed as it passed them on Union, despite the hard-eyed stares from the people in the car. But Erica recognized a man in a dark hooded sweatshirt when they encountered him on 69th Street. The one she recognized was L.A. Capone, who was driving the car. The side door on the van opened. D. Rose fired the shots that caused Anthony to fall to the ground, while Erica ran away in panic. Then C-Day jumped out of the van, and walked calmly to the lying Anthony, and stood over him, and shot him several times in the head. There are rumors that Fathead was killed because he walked around and boasted that he was the one who killed Shaq. However, it is unconfirmed information. Immediately after the murder, both C-Day and L.A. Capone started mocking Fathead and O51 Young Money. For example, C-Day wrote to Erica on Twitter that he saw something she didn't, and other disrespectful comments about Fathead. Anthony, who was a well-loved member from O51, and who also was Montana's brother, made O51 want revenge, quickly. Because C-Day, D. Rose and L.A. Capone basically all admitted to the murder on social media right after, O51 knew right away who to look for. In addition, Erica had even seen L.A. Capone in the car. C-Day, who shot Davis several times in the head, quickly became the top priority for O51, especially for his brother Montana, and for Melly, who was very close to him. After Fathead died, O51 was constantly out looking mainly for C-Day, but also L.A. Capone and D. Rose, or any other 600 member to get revenge. A few months after the murder, after C-Day got out, after a robbery charge was set against him, O51 got their chance. O51 made an attempt to set C-Day up. They made him think he was going to meet someone to buy something. What he was going to buy is unknown, but probably either weapons or drugs. When C-Day went to the place to meet the person, Montana, Arrow and Melly were waiting in a corner to ambush C-Day. As soon as they spotted him, they popped out and started shooting at him, but C-Day started running immediately, and managed to get away without any injuries. Eight days after Bob O killed Lil Chief, O51 got revenge when Lil Mick killed Black from THF 46. However, it would take about 4 months before O51 got revenge on 600. On November 1st, 2012, Kato from O51 killed Trix from 600. However, many from 600 thought that Trix was only a bystander, and that he did not belong to 600. C-Day was even mocking Trix on Twitter. A little less than a year later, O51 would score on 600 again. And this time it was one of the biggest scores in Chicago history. September 26, 2013 was the date when L.A. Capone's career and life would come to an end. After Erica had recognized L.A. Capone from the Fathead hit, L.A. became a big target, but also because he was a big profile for 600, and for Chicago in general. Lil Mick, O51 Rockhead and Mako from Met Boys were waiting outside L.A. Capone's studio. The 17-year-old rapper was later walking out of the studio with a friend, and then walked through an alley near 70th Street and Stony Island Avenue around 6:25 p.m. His friends said that Leonard walked to a corner, looking for their ride, wondering where their ride was at, then heard 4 shots, and Leonard was on the ground. Lil Mick was the one that ran up to LA and shot him from behind, striking him in the lower back and right thigh. Lil Mick, Rockhead and Mako were later all arrested and later convicted of the murder. Rockhead later snitched on Lil Mick, saying that he was the only shooter. About 2 months later, Westbrook, Dre Money and Lil Ant from THF 46 killed the female savage, Big A from O51 Young Money. About 6 months after O51 killed L.A. Capone, 600 along with DHF would get their revenge for L.A. Capone by killing O51's most famous rapper of all time, and the one who put O51 on the map, Lil Mark. The assassination that would later lead to Melly's terrorization of Lil Durk and OTF. Lil Mark, or Mark Campbell who was his real name, was standing at a bus stop at 1:27 p.m. in the 300 block of East 51st Street. Lexville gave 46 the drop on Lil Mark. THF 46 who were already in traffic in a van with 600, O Block and Folly Boys drove to the location. D Rose from 600, and Twilliff from THF, opened fire, striking Lil Mark in the head, and then immediately sped away from the scene. There is a lot of speculation about who was actually on the hit. However, it is quite clear that Lil Mark, Twilla and 5 Star from Folly Boys were in the car. D Rose even drove to the crime scene a few hours after the murder and recorded a video, mocking Mark. Some also speculate that both D Roy and King Von were in the car, because King Von was tweeting that he was in traffic with D Rose, Twilla and T Roy that day, and the day before, and was mocking Lil Mark immediately after the murder and said they would celebrate. However, another setback would come for O51. Before Melly began his terrorization of OTF, Lil Boo and Just Below from 600 caught Polo from O51 and shot him to death. After the murder of Lil Mark, Lil Durk and Lil Reese, and the Holo Block, 600 and THF46, started to mock Lil Mark on social media and in songs. THFDP made a song named Bus Stop, where he mocked Lil Mark and his brother Tuka, who both got killed at a bus stop. Among others, Chino from THF46 was in the video. Lil Durk uploaded a video where he recorded himself at the murder scene, mocking Lil Mark. This is where Melly comes into the picture. Lil Durk became the highest priority for O51. They hated him, they could not see him win. Like I said in the story of Get Back Gang, they hated him for his success, his constant dissing towards O51 and Mark, and for providing guns and money to his block. The problem for O51 was that they could not get to him. Lil Durk was already too big, and was rarely outside in Chicago. O51 decided to get to him in another way, killing everyone who stands close to him. Their goal was to kill Newski from Face World, OTF Chino from THF46, Central City Baby D, OTF D-Thang, and Lil Varney from Lamron. Baby D and Newski were Durk's cousins. Chino was his manager. D-Thang is Lil Durk's blood brother and current manager. And Lil Varney, aka The Muscle, is one of Lamron's top killers, and one of the founders of OTF.
Bus stop, man. Hey, this bus stop right here though. This is a real famous place. You hear me? This is a real famous place, B. Hey, this bus stop is a real famous place, B. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Free my nigga T. God fuck the rock, man. Gage.
Already 2 months after Lil Mark was killed at the bus stop 2014, the first revenge came from O51. On May 31st, Newski and Lil Durk were sitting in a car in the 700 block of East 87th Street about 3:20 p.m. They parked there for Lil Durk to go in and buy some shoes in a store. While Lil Durk was inside the store, Drill and Melly from O51 came up to the side window from 2 different ways and shot Newski multiple times. Newski tried to drive away with bullet holes in him, but crashed the car. Melly and Drilla ran back to their car, and Pryboy from O51, who was the driver, sped away from the scene. When Lil Durk heard the shots, he ran out of the store, and saw his cousin bloody lying in the car. Durk immediately broke down in tears. Newski was described by Zand as a good person and kind-hearted person with a lot of soul in him. Mark Murphy, who was the owner of one of the studios that Newski used to record in, said that Newski was just working on a new project that would be his big breakout project. It was scheduled to drop this summer and would be called Newski Got the Strap. Murphy described Newski's music as energetic, focused on having a good time, and his relationship to the people close to him. He said that he was one of those kids who saw an opportunity to put himself in a better position with his music. However, Newski was not only a rapper, he was also a shooter but not a killer. O51 immediately started dissing Newski and Lil Durk on social media after the murder. There was also a lot of self-snitching going on. For example, Crump and possibly Melly were at the scene where Newski was killed. Crump was on Instagram and said, "I am with the dude who did it, but he does not want to be on camera," implying that Melly did it. Melly and Crump were very close friends, and were around each other all the time. Melly was for example there when Crump got killed, Melly caught a bullet to the head himself but survived. I will talk about that situation later on in the video. Melly and Drilla were also on Twitter, mocking Newski. Drilla even posted a picture of Lil Durk at the scene, where he broke up in tears when he saw his cousin.
Them left Newski. They left his ass right here. You feel me? They left his ass up here on folks and them tweaking. Buying some shoes. Y'all see real niggas be up here though. Nigga play with me up here on folks in this building, bitch on the news. I look like Newski. Hit his ass up right here on Pat. I'm with the nigga that did. He don't want to be on camera though. Hit his ass up right here on Pat. You hit me? They fucked my boy up. Right here, you feel me? Historic events. Y'all know I'm gonna bring y'all around this shit. Historic events. Wish a nigga would play with me, boy. I look like Newski. He ran into this though. He ran into the children's place, died like a bitch on Coke now. Goof ass nigga.
The next revenge did not come a little less than a year later. This time it was Chino from THF 46's turn. Lil Durk's manager OTF Chino was shot and killed on the south side of Chicago on March 27, 2015. Chino, whose real name was Uchenna Ajina, was sitting in a car in the 8400 block of South Stony Island Avenue 1:50 a.m. Someone who was close to Young Money members spotted Chino, and that's how O51 got the drop on him. Melly walked up to the side window and shot Chino multiple times, of which one shot, striking him in the head. Chino died after being driven to the Advocate Trinity Hospital in the Calumet Heights neighborhood. A few hours before Chino's life would come to an end, he had been to a meeting with Chicago Bulls star Joakim Noah to talk about anti-violence initiatives. The day before, Lil Durk and Chino had been at Noah's downtown condominium, getting an overview of Noah's Rock Your Drop anti-violence campaign, said Devin Jackson, manager of Lil Durk's DJ Bands. The group posed for a photo that was later posted on Instagram. Just like after the murder of Newski, the storm of self-snitching and disrespectful comments and videos on social media towards Chino, Lil Durk, and OTF began. I let the videos and tweets speak for itself.
Some motherfuckers remember what you did. Just like me a piece.
Yeah, Chino burger. That's what they said. Get the fuck out of here.
My son just said Chino burger.
Damn, was that Buddha? I thought it was fat food. Hey, y'all got that order for Newski? Chino burger. Chino burger. Yeah, y'all got it? Hey, right? Oh, thank you. Oh, Bill. What's up? Y'all with that OTLK shit? Oh, man. Hey, this motherfucker bogus as hell, man. Y'all, this shit ain't done, man. Y'all done put this shit back on the grill, man. This shit disgusting, man. Get this shit together, man. For real, this shit bogus as hell, man.
After the death of Newski and Chino, Durk wanted Melly's head on a stick. He had a big bag out on Melly's head and talked about him in several songs. For example, in the song Die Slow he says, "For the man that killed my cousin, make sure he dies slow," and in the song Like That, he says, "It's one op that we ain't blessed, after him it ain't no fun," which is aimed at Melly, who later himself pointed it out in a video.
Talking about, they crazy. They say it's more up, it ain't killed after him, it ain't no fun. Those people crazy, ain't they?
Exactly 5 days after Melly killed Chino, he would be on another hit, this time with Bebe from Mob, Drilla, Arrow and Ochi from O51, and Motor from Jaro. Around 11:30 a.m., they were out on 600's territory, on the 5800 block of South King Drive in Washington Park to be exact, looking for ops. They spotted Lil Boo, one of the founders of 600. Lil Boo saw when the car slowed down as it drove towards him. He therefore tried to hide under a car. However, they had already seen him. They started firing shots. Ochi and Drilla jumped out of the car and shot him multiple times. About a month after Lil Boo was killed, it was Melly who himself was close to being murdered by 15-year-old Raheem from THF 46. Melly, Ario and Arrow were standing in the 6000 block of South Wentworth Avenue, in Englewood. Raheem spotted them, and started letting off shots with his .22 caliber Beretta. Melly got hit in both his head and his foot. Ario got hit in his right shoulder, and Arrow got away with a graze wound to his leg. Both Melly and Ario were taken in serious to critical condition to Strodger Hospital. Both survived the shots, much thanks to the small caliber gun that Raheem used. "14 days later, Melly and Ario would get their revenge, and later, one of them, his punishment. Raheem and another 14-year-old, THF twin, were on the 800 block of East 45th Street, in a south side alley east of Cottage Grove Avenue near its intersection with 45th Street. Melly and Ario, who were looking for revenge, were sliding through the block. They spotted Raheem and Twin. Melly and Ario both started letting off shots. Twin was shot in the foot and survived. However, Raheem was found dead on the scene, with several shots to his back. Ario was later arrested, and later convicted of the murder. He never told on Melly. Right now he's in the feds, and waiting on his sentence.
I'm gonna read you a bedtime story and tuck you in. Huh? I'm gonna read you a bedtime story and tuck you in. Tell you about this nigga when he walked down this dark alley. He ain't make it to the other end of the alley.
I'm just reading the comments, bro.
I'm just asking you. I said you finna go to sleep.
I am.
And I said you want to tell you about this story about this nigga, right? He went in from one end of the alley, but he didn't make it to the other end. Black alley. Tell you the story.
I've heard of it.
It's a story. Why you never heard of it? Why you wasn't there? Of course. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard of it.
I got shot 2 weeks. He expired.
I wouldn't tell a story.
Huh?
I wouldn't tell the story. I'll be imitating myself.
Man, I'm saying that was a fucking joke. But you go walk down this alley, nigga. I want you to walk down this alley. A certain alley.
1.5 years later, it was time again. This time he dropped 2 bodies, within 3 days. About 12 hours before the first murder was committed by Melly, Bankroll Q from O51 Young Money had been killed at a party, by Lil Dale, Smalls and Breeze from Folly Boys, and Tweet from GGE. So just 12 hours after the murder of Bankroll Q, Melly was sliding in an SUV, in the 8800 block of South Marshfield Avenue. He spotted one of Bankroll Q's killers, Lil Dale, and shot him multiple times in his chest. Lil Dale, 18, whose real name was Delvon Weston, managed to get himself to Advocate Christ Medical Center, where he was later pronounced dead.
No, you a little easy. Yeah. No, you a biter. Oh, yeah. You got them bitches. That's what I'm talking about. That bitch be playing. Man, damn.
When you gotta get you a girlfriend, you gotta be faithful, bro.
I got a girlfriend
on
that
get like me. You gotta get like me. You got a
girlfriend on the I'm out of that, though, G.
What's wrong?
You
3 days after Melly killed Lil Dell, he would drop his 6th body, or rather the 7th, if you count Lil Boo, which you should do. This time he would drop his 3rd body on THF 46. Trayvon Dickerson. Trayvon was standing in the 6800 block of South Cornell Avenue. TTB Nez, Melly, and Tristo from O51 Young Money spotted him in a gangway, and shot him multiple times, hitting him in both his face and abdomen. Trayvon was pronounced dead at the scene at 8:22 p.m. Trayvon also claimed Marvin World. There is a good chance that Melly, who lived near Trayvon, in the 6400 block of South Ellis, and who had very strong ties in Mall Town, spotted him outside of his apartment, and then followed him. Melly absolutely terrorized THF 46. What one must remember is that it is not common for someone to catch as many as 3 bodies from the same set. THF 46 hated him, and wanted him gone at all costs. Melly had done more damage to THF 46 than anyone else. When Raheem was killed, Bezu was in jail for the murder of Dominic. Many people probably wonder why I mention it. Well, it's because Raheem was Bezu's stepson, the chief of THF 46's stepson. When Bezu got out, he wanted Melly just as much as Dirk wanted him. It was both Dada and Bezu who chased the contract Dirk put on Melly's head. On the night of May 25th, 2018, Bezu and Lil T from THF 46 and Lil Steve from Lamron would score on Mubu and be close to putting Melly away for good.
It was a $75,000 bond, bro. You just been counting for a $75,000 bond, bro.
You still come home doing this? This still what you come home doing?
For $75,000 bond, bro.
Pop down.
You said who running?
Man,
you ain't gonna shoot nobody.
Is that what you still doing?
Crump and Melly were standing in front of Crump's house in the 6800 block of South Morgan Street, in the South Side area of Chicago, late Thursday night, Friday morning. The night between May 24th and May 25th. Crump and Melly were attending a party. Suddenly a car pulled up and Bezu, Lil T, and Lil Steve started spraying bullets towards Melly and Crump. It was all over in a minute. Crump was shot twice in the arm and twice in the torso. He was taken to the University of Chicago Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. Melly, on the other hand, was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. He was struck with 5 gunshot wounds to his left arm, and was grazed by a bullet to his head. Lil Durk even referred to Lil Steve as Crump's killer, in the song, No Auto Durk, where he said, "Can't have no Fay on yo block as long as Steve out here." After the murder of his close friend Crump, and after he himself had almost been killed, he wanted to punish Lil Durk and OTF again. First, however, he would once again kill one of those involved in the murder of Bankroll Q, DY from GGE. DY, whose real name was Tyrone Marshall, was a 19-year-old boy. TY was leaning against a parked vehicle and talking to a friend when another vehicle pulled up. Melly opened fire from inside the car, striking Tyrone in the head, and then they sped away from the scene. Tyrone was always dropping wise, and like I said before, he was there when Bankroll got killed. After Melly got killed, a lot of people were posting TY on their story, with the caption, "Long live DY."
Let's get back to the E-way. Fuck the bullshit.
Now we have come to Melly's 9th and final body. Just like I said before, after seeing Crump get killed, as well as after almost been shot to death himself, Melly wanted to punish Lil Durk again. He wanted to kill Lil Durk's blood brother, D-Thang, and his cousin Baby D, from Central City. D-Thang, Baby D, and OTF Fresh were sitting in a car in the 600 block of East 115th Street, in the Pullman neighborhood, just after 2:45 a.m. Melly and some Snowblock members had been following them from the club. Melly and the others pulled up next to them and fired shots into the car. All 3 were shot, one of them fatally. Darnell Banks, 30, aka Baby D, was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center with gunshot wounds to the abdomen and back. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. D-Thang was struck by multiple gunshots in his abdomen and legs. He was taken in critical condition to the hospital, but was later in stable condition, and left the hospital a few days later. OTF Fresh, from Lamron, was shot in the left knee, and could leave the hospital quickly. Melly had thus now killed 3 close people to Lil Durk, and almost even killed his blood brother. The question is whether Lil Durk would still have made music today, if his blood brother had not survived. After the murder, people from Lamron, THF 46, and 600 were out daily looking for Melly, but without success. However, his day was to come, on September 1st, 2019. Yarmul was at a house party, located at 6107 S. St. Lawrence, in the south side of Chicago, which is Jaro City's territory. A few weeks earlier, Melly and Nate from Taekwon World had ended up in a dispute, which ended with Melly pulling up to his house and shooting it up, while his girlfriend and newborn baby were home. What many do not know is that Nate was at the party a long time before the murder. He saw Melly standing in the corner and felt anger towards him because Melly could have killed both his baby and his girlfriend. Nate pretended to leave the party, but then stopped and turned around and shot Melly multiple times, and also hit a 34-year-old woman in the foot. Melly was hit in the chest, abdomen, and groin. Nate then fled through the back door. Travis from Jaro City, who happened to be filming at the very moment when Melly was shot, was killed himself a day later, though not by O51 as many thought. It was Manny from 600.
I swear to God, you niggas better not come outside. I promise you. Oseco, you niggas better not come outside, dog. I promise you, dog. I promise you, you niggas better not come outside.
The day he lost his soul, wish I could take it back. I just wanna go get on my bag with my nigga. Wanna be rich forever for my dog. I'ma take you on your first trip. On a private jet.
Oseco, brother, that's what I need, a hug, brother. Oseco grave, brother.
Fuck around and drag it. I done seen a lot of shit behind these glasses, man. My life going through many different phases. Gotta keep the gun on.
O51 found out pretty quickly who it was that shot Melly. Several at the party had seen Nate leave the party. It was now that things would start to happen between O51, STL, Jaro, and Taekwon World. First of all, Taekwon World became enemies to O51 right after they found out it was Nate, and when they saw Taekwon members mock Yarmul on social media. After the murder of Duck, things started to happen between STL and O51, because STL is close to Taekwon World. They started sneak dissing each other. Some O51 members were mocking Duck, and vice versa towards Melly. And once and for all, STL had nothing to do with the murder of Melly, and O51 had nothing to do with the murder of Duck. It was O-Block shorties who killed Duck. They are just sneak dissing each other. It will probably never happen anything between them. A few months after Melly's murder, Melly Way was created, which is an alliance with people from O51, Geo Drive, and 757. It was Melly Way who killed Richie Jerk, from Taekwon World. However, it was not Rose. He is locked up for a completely different body. The score between Taekwon World and O51 is thus 1-1. Probably, O51 and Melly Way are waiting for Nate to be released from jail. He is currently locked up for a gun.
Yeah, man, motherfuckers there. Sunny. Yeah, man. Where are you, yeah, man? Motherfuckers there. And we out here with them things on no bap. Fuck it to my.
Melly was always looked at as a cool and chill dude. Even the ops said it and respected him. Billa, Bezu, and King Von, for example, have all shown respect for what he did in the streets. However, just like Ide from 600 described him, Melly did too much in the streets, that it was impossible that it would not eventually come back against him. He was one of the most feared members in the city. With that said, rest in peace, Yamo Melly Williams. Thank you for watching my video. Do not forget to like and comment on what you thought of it.
Swear to God, in my eyes, O51 Melly, I never respected him. I'm not gonna lie. To me, he was like a goofy who thought he was doing too much. Like he did too much. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why he died, cause he overdid his part. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't overdo your part in Chirac. Ain't nobody no super killer and you can't die. Everybody can die. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you overdo your part and you feel like somebody you not out here, they gonna take you out this shit.
You in that gym. Hey, this was crazy. Hey, now you know, now nigga Melly. Now he one of them niggas you could talk to, you know what I'm saying? You could talk to him cause he cool. And he got a little points whatever he did, you know? So it's okay. Now he tell me, now I hide the nigga and shit. The nigga I made he did right now. But like, he tell me this when he's alive. He like, I knew you was gonna get out shorty. You lost your best friend. God had to let you out. You see what I'm saying? Like God, he owed you that.
Stop playing on me, man.
You got the balls to be yourself. That's why I like your bitch ass.
I'll always be myself.